Good evening, guys. It's Saturday, July 8th. My name is Dave Coker, and this is Talking About Finance. And hello there, lovely people. Welcome to the only channel on YouTube today that helps you understand the single most effective way to invest. It's investing only for cash flow. And it doesn't matter what we buy as long as one rule is never broken. Anything we own has to pay us for owning it. I don't get why people buy stocks and hope they go up. Sure, they might go up, but they might not go up. And the thing is, when you need some money, you might have to sell at a depressed share price. That ain't no way to get rich, guys. Compare it to our approach. We only invest in assets that pay us to own them. Stocks, bonds, property, anything that generates revenue. And while we use dividends or rent paid to buy more cash flow generating assets. It's a beautiful system because we're using the power of compound interest in our favor. It doesn't work against us as it does when you owe money. And on the first business day of every month, I buy stocks. What else am I going to do with the monthly revenue? Remember the old Scottish expression, money is flat because it's meant to be piled high. You know, someday, when I retire, I might use that cash flow to live on. I track all our costs, and even after taxes, and after paying all the bills, we'll have money left over. Money to buy more cash flow generating assets. So this evening, we're once again going to talk about finance, because I'm a particularly boring person. And finance is all I can talk about. You know, years ago, I'd go to parties. And people, after learning I was an investment banker, they'd avoid me, sometimes walking away. And if they found out I was a landlord, the response was even worse. But something has changed. And people, lots of people, are interested in making money, investing money, saving money. This is the purpose of life, guys, to get paid. Are you getting paid? Invest in cash flow generating assets, stocks, bonds, rental property, and you'll get paid. It's a beautiful feeling. It's a liberating feeling because only when someone else is paying your bills, only then will you be free. And remember, don't ever try to trade. If you buy it, you own it forever. That is the only way you should engage the markets. Buy and reinvest all dividends. Buy and hold forever. It doesn't mean you never sell. I've done that in the past. But when I bought the stocks, I plan to hold those stocks forever. And you know something? Nobody can blame me if a dividend-paying stock goes up 1,000% and I take some money off the table. And that's happened to me more than once. And yes, at that point, I sell half. So think about it. Oh, and welcome to my students from my banking management class and probably some other classes as well. I just don't know. It's really cool you guys found this channel because I never distribute links to my work to university students. It's sort of a conflict of interest, I feel. But if they discover it and students discover it, yeah. And it's interesting because my old university students discovered it. And then it got to be really funny because they discovered I had a band. And they started coming to my shows, and that was actually pretty cool until it started causing some friction at home with the young ladies. Yeah, wife didn't like that, but yeah, no big deal. All right, enough of that. Let's talk about finance. And the S&P 500 closed the week up about 50 basis points, or 0.5%. We can see here 4 sectors outperformed the S&P 500. Consumer discretionary, utilities, real estate and communication services. And 7 sectors underperformed, financials and information technology. Both finished in the green for the week with energy, consumer staples, industrials, materials, and healthcare, all booking a loss, closing in the red for the week. And while we're seeing signs that the labor market's weakening, it's still strong enough that Fed is likely to hike at the upcoming meeting. I'll be tracking it and publishing so you can get what the traded Fed funds futures are predicting. The VIX traded up to 14.83. It opened the week at 13.59. The 10-year note closed the week at 4.06, up about 20 basis points week on week, and now up about 20 basis points year to date. So yields are rising on risk-free assets. Just keep that data point in mind, and we'll see how persistent this trend is. Oil closed the week at 73.65, up about 4.3% on the week, down about 8.2% year to date. A little bit of a bounce in oil, but nothing major, just noise really at this point. And since yesterday was Friday, I bought Bitcoin and I bought Ripple, as I do every Friday and as I've been doing for years. Much longer for Bitcoin than Ripple. I buy Bitcoin, I hold Bitcoin, I never sell Bitcoin, it's just what I do. So now, let's find out what me and my buddies, about 50 or so finance professionals from all around the planet, talked about last week on a private Telegram channel. And let me introduce ours properly. We are Global Wall Street, and between Telegram and our personal networks on LinkedIn, we know everyone. We know people at different financial institutions. It's always useful to help with references or vetting potential candidates for jobs in industry. A lot of that goes on behind the scenes. I'm frequently asked about people off the record. And this week we're reporting from the City of London and of course Wall Street. We're also in Shanghai, we're in San Francisco, and we're in Salt Lake City, Utah. We have people absolutely everywhere that matters. So let's go. 7 slides for 7 days. Oh my gosh, in case you can't tell, I'm having the time of my life. And this is a good one. Now, I don't know why people are getting caught up in this. People are taking a look at Zimbabwe and Nigerian stock market. Oh, and they're pouring money into this market. My God. Now, it's happening locally, and that's driving prices up. But I'm aware of some people on the various channels that I visit, and also we talked about on the Telegram channel, where some of these Twitter people, Twitter financial experts, don't you know, and also on the subreddits, they're advising people buy Zimbabwe because look at the market's going up. Well, the only problem is, say you're funding your trade with US dollars. You convert it to the Zimbabwean currency, you do the trade, and then later on, after you sell the stocks, you got to get the money out. You don't want to sit there and hold that currency. The currency is depreciating rapidly because of inflation. So I don't know about this. I'd be very, very careful. In fact, why do that garbage? It doesn't make sense, but some people are always trying to find a way to shortcut and to get rich quick. It really doesn't matter. And this is something, and once again, welcome to my students. I've advised you several times, find out what your credit score is now. You really want to make sure that you're in good shape now. Because when you start to look for a job, in particular, if you're looking for a job in the city or on Wall Street with a top-tier financial institution, they're going to look at your credit score. And if you've got problems on your credit score, it won't show up for a couple weeks after they hire you, and you will be escorted off premises. Guys, just take a look at it. You do need to track this, and you do need to improve your credit score. Oh, and guys, yeah, don't ever be afraid. It's just a score. And likely is you're in better shape than you think, but don't look because you're afraid to look. It's really not appropriate, not really for someone who's into finance. But this is totally true. If you look on social media or even newspaper stories, people are complaining that they can't afford the down payment to buy a house. Well, guess what? Maybe you shouldn't be buying a home in such an expensive area. I was asked recently by a young lady about she can't afford to buy a property in London on the same street she grew up on, and she feels all depressed. And it's no, don't. I advised her, get out of London. You get out of London, you can get properties cheaper. We moved from Tower Hamlets out here to out where we are in Essex, much cheaper. And sure, it's appreciated a lot since we moved out here, but it's still far cheaper than London. So if you can't afford the down payment for a home, don't be afraid to widen your search. And London, if you're working in London, has excellent public transportation. So there's really no excuse, no real justifiable reason to live in an area that you can't afford and to continue to rent. If you're going to be in the area for 5 to 7 years, buy. That is a bad habit I'm passing along to you. And I'll tell you, that's why I got a lot of property all over the planet. Bad habit of whenever I move someplace, instead of renting, I buy a place. And then when I move someplace else, I rent it out to somebody else. Yeah, but yeah, you want to start to think like that, guys. And this is interesting because we've been tracking this, and this is off Wells Fargo research, and it's really fascinating. And I've been looking at it myself, looking at the excess savings, and you can see how when COVID hit, people saved buckets of money, and they've been spending it, and they've been doing this to fund consumption at the higher price levels. People are not responsible with money. I say this party's going to end, and you better think about what's going to happen to consumption in the United States once the party's over. 70% of GDP in the United States is driven by consumption, people buying stuff. Right now, they're tapping savings to continue spending. Totally irresponsible with the money, but yeah, who am I to preach? Just, I know what you're thinking. I am a member of a minority. I'm a white, heterosexual, happily married, multi-millionaire. So persecuted. But in any case, guys, start to think about this and structure your portfolios accordingly. And here's one that unless you worked at an investment bank, you wouldn't be aware of. But, we just can't buy or sell when we're in these banks working for them. I'm no longer working. I do have banking clients, 6 of them. But when I was working for banks, you can't buy or sell stocks without getting permission from compliance. And that is some of the factors, or one of the factors, that has molded me into a cash flow buy and hold investor. Because, you're going to really, compliance takes their own time to approve a trade, take their own time to approve a sale. You really don't want to be doing that, trying to trade when you have to get permission from an intermediary. So I would just buy and hold dividend-paying stocks. They might take a day or two to approve the purchase. I don't care because I'm buying the cash flow. That's all I care about. So start to think about this if you're going into a job in financial services. You want to start to build a portfolio of cash flow generating assets. In this case, we're talking about stocks and bonds. Yeah, because you're going to have to deal with compliance at some point. And we always see these posts on social media. People are upset when Bitcoin moves against them, and they post I think they're just wind up. I can't believe people are buying stuff without really understanding what they're buying. But if they are buying it and they don't know what they're buying, they should just hold on to it. That's what I do. I never sell Bitcoin. I've been buying Bitcoin since 2014, weekly. Yeah, but people think they can trade, and I don't know what the answer is. But there is no manager, as we know. And that's why Bitcoin, unlike Ethereum and these other altcoins, and I'm intentionally lumping Ethereum in there, that's why the SEC is soon going to be managing them. And then you can speak with a manager. It's called the Securities and Exchange Commission. But Bitcoin has already been ruled a commodity. And there's the Howey test that's applied. So it won't matter. And this is an interesting one because this is from Plan B, and I presented his work in the past. And now guys, what we're looking at here is, of course, we're looking at the price of Bitcoin, the black line, and then don't pay attention to the pink or fuchsia, whatever God's name color that line is yet. Look at the bottom. And I've talked about this many times. Since 2017, I've been speaking out publicly a great deal about Bitcoin. In fact, at the university now, and the university I used to work for, I give students Bitcoin all the time to get them interested in cryptocurrencies in general, Bitcoin specifically. And look at this. Horizontally, you notice some numbers: 210,000, 420, 630, 840, and 1,050,000. Now, what these are blocks, and we won't go too much deep into it. All you got to know is every 4 years, we experience something called the halving. The production rate of Bitcoin, the resupply rate, if you want to call it that, is cut by 50%. Now, he's got a very simple trading rule here. And if you look at the black line, you'll notice whenever there's a halving, the price of Bitcoin rises substantially. And then in the subsequent period, it never really drops down below the previous high. It just doesn't do that. Now, he's got a very interesting trading rule. And again, I don't approve of trading myself. But if you're interested in doing it, I don't know what to tell you. It's here. You guys interpret it. I'm certainly not encouraging anyone to trade because I don't trade anything. I buy and hold forever, and especially Bitcoin. I've never really dumped Bitcoin, as I've mentioned before. Now, here, his rule is what you want to do is you want to buy 6 months before the halving, and then you want to sell 18 months after the halving. The next halving is in May of 2024. We tentatively think it's going to be the 22nd or 23rd of May. So we're getting close to the date where you should be buying if you're oriented this way. Of course, for people like me and hopefully you, we buy every week. So we don't have to worry about this. Okay, guys, that's it for this evening. Hope you had a wonderful week. This week coming up is going to be awesome. You're going to make buckets of money. You're going to follow a very simple approach. Buy anything that pays you to hold it, and you hold it. You own it forever. Except for Bitcoin and Ripple. Those don't pay you to own them. Oh, I should mention, yeah, I think you know I've got a very, very large position in gold and silver. Moved 71% of my retirement money into gold and silver in March 2019. I ain't selling. There's a long story there, and I've written it up on Medium. All right, guys, wonderful talking this evening. You have a great weekend, whatever's left of it. We're headed out to the pub, and you know what goes on there. Oh, the good tunes are playing. I don't know. Okay, guys, take care.